Fire for your mind. The Kosher Clinician. Hit that like button and share this stream if you're not a beta male. Greetings. This is another topic of the Kosher Clinician that might be sensitive to some viewers. If you are sensitive to the topic at hand or the title provided in the show, please proceed with caution. You have been warned. Viewer discretion is advised.
Want to save your life and peace of mind? Here's why compromised masculinity can never save defective women. Because this might happen. One sentence from this woman sent the internet into a war after she said this about black men. Why she's not your sister.
What happened to men just shutting up and going to work every time? It's a podcast. It's a meme. It's a stream. Take y'all ass to work. Shut up. Y'all talk too damn much about nothing. About how y'all ain't giving the one the fucking money. We don't want to hear it, okay? We don't want to hear it. Okay, you broke. We got it. Like, please. I'm tired of the think pieces. I'm tired of it. Damn, just be quiet.
As a man, if you see another man having a domestic dispute with his lady, you stay out of that. Because a man from Texas named Eddie Ray Hill Jr. tried it. He tried to stop a domestic dispute and the man killed him and himself. Eddie Ray pulled up to work and seen them getting into it in the parking lot, and he decided to do what he thought was the right thing and stop it. This man literally lost his life trying to be a stand-up guy. But the reason I say you shouldn't jump in these things is because you don't know what transpired before you got there or before you witnessed the incident. How did he know he just didn't catch his girl cheating at work? How do he know that? The man feelings all over the place for a reason, bro. If you see something like that, stand back. And if you got to do something, call the police, bro. People are emotionally unstable right now, man. They emotionally unstable and they're willing to die about the things that they're going through in life, especially domestic disputes dealing with them and they woman. Prayers up for that man, bro. He tried to do the right thing and ultimately it ended his life, bro. Pass the word along, man. Teach your sons, stay out of other grown men business when it comes to their lady, bro. For real.
Black men are not anywhere near the cancer of our community. We did not create slavery. We did not create redlining. We didn't create mass incarceration, underfunded schools, the wage gap, bank deserts, food deserts. We did not create this media machine that keeps people like Andy Cohen and Leor Cohen and let's see here, Jimmy Iovine in the billions. So I'm not going to report for duty, respectfully, under a lie. I'll report for duty to build. I'll report for duty to lead. I'll report for duty to correct men who are wrong. I will report for duty to protect women and children. I'll report to duty to rebuild families and confront broken systems. When we have people like David, when we have people like R. Kelly, when we have people like Diddy, I condemn that situation immediately. But I also condemn Clive Davis. I also condemn Leor Cohen. I also condemn Andy Cohen, Scooter Braun, and everybody who was in charge of perpetuating this thug, gangster, nonsensical mythos of black men that becomes the standard as opposed to the exception, while also elevating a soft beta male scent mangina mentality that does not serve us when it comes to our communities and would not be tolerated in anybody else's community.
Because it's black, then your consciousness is of one thing. I don't associate with some of these dusty Negroes. I don't deal with them because their consciousness is not black. I don't agree with them because I believe that you can't have a black community unless black men are leading their communities. But when you got a generation of women that conspire with liberal white women,
They conspire with maladaptive policies. We're in the situation that we're in now because of that. And when things happen, you have these people that have this pro-black ideology. I call it static blackness. And the presumption is that just because your skin color is black, your consciousness got to be black. But here's the problem with that, DJ Hamp. Black people were never one in Africa.
Respectfully. But see, here's the paradox. Here's the paradox with this static blackness or flat blackness. I'll call it static blackness. It's a presumption and the assumption that just because your skin color is black, we all belong to the same tribe, and I refute that highly. I will argue parenthetically that there's a percentage of black women that are part of our tribe, but a lot are not part of our tribe. And I agree with Dr. L. I agree with Dave Anderson. You know, I'm saying, you my brother, I love you, but I'm not taking accountability for that because she's not part of my tribe. The biggest misnomer when it comes down to black folks is that, especially with black men, where black women are in power, then they are a separate entity. But when they're in peril or pain, then black men must come to the rescue. And I'm sitting, you killed it, man, on that show. You said, I'm not going to serve for people that don't honor and respect me. And the problem is that when you consistently reward bad behavior by asking black men to undo things that they never done, then it becomes problematic. And instead of reinforcing good behavior, you reinforce bad behavior. Part of a healthy relationship or a functioning relationship is a concept called synergy. You can't have soul fusion if you don't have synergy. But many times in the black community, black men are asked to do unhealthy undoing instead of doing healthy undoing. Healthy undoing is an ego defense mechanism that says that I did Dave wrong, so therefore I'm going to go to him as a man and apologize. I did Jeff wrong, I'm going to go to him as a man and apologize. But unhealthy undoing is a psychopathology where black men are told to undo something they never done. And that's dangerous because, see, I've always said, Jeff, and the panel, that we got a generation of defective women and compromised men. And when you have defective women and compromised men, what happens? Men don't get power, they lose power. Here's the paradox with this static blackness or flat blackness, or I'll call it static blackness. It's a presumption and the assumption that just because your skin color is black, we all belong to the same tribe, and I refute that highly. I will argue parenthetically that there's a percentage of black women that are part of our tribe, but a lot are not part of our tribe. And I agree with Dr. L. I agree with Dave Anderson. You know, I'm saying, you my brother, I love you, but I'm not taking accountability for that because she's not part of my tribe. And respect me. And the problem is that when you consistently reward bad behavior by asking black men to undo things that they never done, then it becomes problematic. And instead of reinforcing good behavior, you reinforce bad behavior.
fire for your mind. The Kosher Clinician.
If it ain't seven, it ain't kosher. Heaven and hell, that's what they told you. Real men put the strap down and we can toss them. Young heads picking back up and young dolphins. This is our culture. Now we talking kosher. Clinician, masculinity issues. Absent fathers who miss you. Mama drama don't kiss you. All a part of the ritual. This is how they get you. Separate the men, women clipping babies pretend to. Damn. Lovers, haters acting like vultures. If it ain't seven, it ain't kosher. If it ain't kosher, ain't right, gotta divorce us. If it ain't seven, it ain't kosher. If it ain't kosher, ain't right, gotta divorce us. If it ain't seven, it ain't kosher. If it ain't kosher, ain't right, gotta divorce us. This is Kosher Condition. 7 wonders, the whole world gotta listen. This is Kosher Condition. 7 wonders, the whole world gotta listen. This is Kosher Condition. 7 wonders, the whole world gotta listen. This is Kosher Condition. 7 wonders, the whole world gotta listen. Listen. Listen.
Thank you guys for tuning in on this Sunday afternoon. Watching. And I'm not going to be before you guys long. I'm going to spend the rest of the weekend walking and doing my Sunday. But as you guys know, I wasn't here last week. I've been very busy. I've been extremely busy dealing with some things with my business. So I didn't have time to stream last week. But two things can be true. These topics that we're talking about is highly important, but not only is it highly important, it's highly necessary. Now, let me explain something to you guys. As I've always said before in the past, content creation is a reflection of the real world. It's art imitating life, and this is edutainment. It's edutainment. It's taking clinical concepts and making it germane to urban topics. And I'm of the persuasion that, and I've said before in the past, that the current milieu that we live in is over. It's not going to ever come back to the way it was in the past. And shout out to Jeff St. James and Paul Elam. I was listening to Jeff last night, and I was listening to Paul Elam. And Paul said something I've been saying for years. I've always said that in order to have an evolution, you got to have a de-evolution. And I will argue anything outside of a world catastrophe will bring these women back to the fray. And what makes things even more compounded is that I will argue that the average black man never had power and conspire with rich white oligarchs to oppress black women. I will argue that the average white man never had power, and the black man never had power. So average white men and black men never had power. See, where black men and white men mess up both, and it impacted black men the most. Tavis Smiley said that when the white America get a cold, then black America get the flu. And so we were already at the bottom. But see, what you guys see, what's going on now is this. Men are beginning to wake up. And the women that are right are also beginning to join men of that same mental vein. And all too often, men have been conditioned to put their lives on the line and also to give their life for nothing. And the problem with that is that men have made masculinity too cheap. One of the things I tell my male clients in practice is that your masculinity is not cheap. If you give your masculinity away for free, if you give your masculinity away without demanding anything in return, then the women that you're dealing with will never respect it. You got to demand something from a woman if you want the best in a relationship. You have to demand something. And if you don't demand anything, you won't get anything. Compromised men have never benefited from defective women. And the man that lost his life, Eddie Ray Hill, whatever his name is, he compromised his own life to save a woman that wasn't his. And so you can't say that, like Iman Shumpert, like a girlfriend, Tiana Taylor, said that she expect protection. Man, you don't get protection. If you did everything in your power to destroy that man, you don't get protection. Masculine protection comes with responsibility and expectations.
Masculine protection is not free. Masculine protection comes with a price. And just like you expect a man to serve you with his life, he expects you to serve him up front with honor, respect, and obedience. But see, anytime men say what they want, it's always a problem. And the OJs said it better than me in the past. The OJs once said, you got to give the people what they want. You got to give the people what they want. I'm thinking about writing a book called Black Love Without Consent. And the reason why I'm going to write that book is because we have never asked Black men fundamentally what they want in a relationship. And so there can never be oneness without responsibility. A man's masculinity can never be cheap just for the sake of skin hue. Because Frederick Douglass said it better than me. He said that power never conceded to nothing without a struggle. It never have and it never will. So if you want to see a semblance of yesterday, which I don't think is going to happen in our lifetime, you got to start giving men what they want. And the problem is, I believe that the typical traditional man, white or Black, has been compromised. You know, the whole concept of romanticism and love is a new concept. Shout out to my man, Gregory Scotland. It's a new concept. And you got to ask yourself the question, what did men get yesterday compared to now? Well, let's see what your grandfather and your great-grandfather got. There's a whole concept, guys, called shrinkflation. Shrinkflation is synonymous to a term I created called hoflation. Shrinkflation and hoflation are the same. They're giving you less, but they're demanding more. And so you might ask yourself the question, what did my grandfather get? Well, your grandfather got a virgin. Your grandfather got a woman that was wife ready. Your grandfather got a woman that wasn't ran through. And your grandfather got a woman that didn't have kids by multiple men. And if the woman did have kids, she was an honorable woman. She was respectful. And she understood that she was in a very compromised position because she didn't have the power of a woman that made better choices than her. But see, women now are charging men the whole tax. The whole tax. She charges you the whole tax, while the men, not man, but men that she dealt with in the past, they have to pay nowhere near as much as you got to pay. So therefore, you got to counter that position by charging her the lady tax. And I've talked about that in the past. We got to stop calling women ladies that don't personify the virtues of being ladies. A true lady is a woman that have not only moral constitution, moral conviction, but also she's a woman that has discipline. She knows how to regulate her emotions, and she knows how to give and receive. But when you live in a generational world where the woman is always complicit in receiving without giving, then what you're doing is that you're telling that woman subconsciously and consciously that your masculinity is cheap. That's why I always said that compromised masculinity never helps defective women, or why men never give their masculinity away for cheap. When people tell you to come back and save a community, you can't do it. You can't do it unless there's some sweat equity in the game. You tell me any business transaction in the world where a person gives their labor, their time, their physical muscle, and their resources away for free. When a woman is serving a man, she's serving the community, she's serving her children, she's serving the boys and the girl in that said community, white or Black, then men were compelled in the past to push forward in servitude because the women gave them something in return. But nowadays, men get nothing but false accusations. Anytime a man has a standard, it's called misogynoir or misogyny, whatever you call it. Anytime a man say, I want a woman that's not obese, low body count, or a virgin, they try to psychologically gaslight men or psyop men into taking lesser deals. And so men and women are of the delusion. Shout out to the good women. We're not talking about good, wholesome women. There's a remnant or percentage of good, wholesome women that get it. They're smart, they're wise, they're feminine, they have emotional intelligence, they work out, They were raised in strong homes with strong fathers. And they understand that when women say that men are making a bunch of babies and not taking care of them, they realize that's a lie. A small percentage of men are causing all the more chaos, not only in the black community, but in communities as well. And so she's charging you the whole tax. I call it rents, resources. She wants your attention. She wants your time. And she wants security and settlement for sex that she gave to other men for free. I call her, she wants you to be her rat. And a rat is the lowest common denominator of an animal, because rats eat anything. And the things they eat is lies and manipulation and deception. So she wants you to be a rat. She don't want you to be something powerful, a powerful animal like a lion. She wants you to be the lowest common denominator, a rat. Surviving off the bare minimum and surviving off the worst ingredients in the world. And so many men are so apt, because they have low self-esteem, to be the rat of the modern woman. Or they will attack any man that has standards and moral constitution outside of the indoctrination that they have received. And that's why you can't have a strong community. That's why you can't have anything. It's because so many men don't know how much power that they have. But here's the good news. Many men are waking up. They are assigning themselves with good women that honor them, respect them, and the dirty word that many don't like, obey. See, obedience just means to agree. That's all it means. But we have conditioned ourselves that obedience means slave. But the question is, who's the real slave? Happy wife, happy life. He's a slave. Paying all the bills without demanding something in return is a slave. The real slave is not her. The real slave is the man. And that's why so many men are waking up. Let me show you guys something real fast, because this goes back to what I was saying a minute ago. So the typical modern woman has been conditioned to be manipulated by dishonorable men. He manipulates you with sweet words and dark intentions. Women get initiated, or women get influenced through what's called their ear gate. When the serpent came to the woman, he didn't come to her, the man first. He came to the woman first. And what he did, he whispered in her ear and told her that she would get the gnosis and that she would be like the Most High. And so many women have been listening to liberal indoctrination, and they have destroyed the future of America, because they have assailed any and all men that have standards as being the enemy. And many are now on antidepressants. Many will never tell you in reality that they were lied to and duped. And now they're frustrated because so many men are checking out, or they're getting passports and they're beginning to travel. And what many don't understand is that many men at one point were slaves to the ideal called love. But now men are becoming slaves to the mission of heteronormative masculinity. Men have always been the romanticiers. Men have always been the givers. And I'm going to prove it to you guys in a minute, but hold tight.
Follow me, baby. The elders are old and out of touch. I have the power to help you become the better version of yourself. Listen to me. I know what's best for you. I am the snake whisperer.
Yeah, men have always been the romanticiers. We've always been romantic and wanted to shower the women that we love with blessings. But see, you got to be real careful when you live in a world where people tell you to fall in love. I've said it once and I'll say it again as a licensed therapist. When you say I fell in love with her, you're basically telegraphing your own destruction. I've said before in the past, you can always love your woman. I'm not against you loving your woman, but you don't love your woman outside of rationality. You might say, well, what is rationality? When other men are telling you what's going on, when you see the red flags and you turn your head or you get mad at other men, when you put your life on the line, sacrificing your life just because of, or sacrificing your life because her skin color is black, but her consciousness is not of your consciousness, what you're doing is that you're making your masculinity cheap. And I took some notes, guys, in my journal, and this right here is a bar. This one is a bar for the most part, from the notes that I took. So when a man serves a community that is broken without expectations, they are telling men that their labor is cheap. Men must rebuild anything without demanding something in return, power, and respect. How can compromised men help defective women? They can't. You can build a nation. You can't build a nation in a defective system where men sacrifice for nothing and where women have all the agency. And so I created a new term called AWOL. AWOL is synonymous to mentor. AWOL basically says that average women offer less, and American women have begun to offer less. Not like American women of yesterday, not like your grandmother and your great grandmother, but it is offer less and demand everything. And once again, men have always been the romanticists. They've always been romantic. But now men are becoming disenfranchised and disinterested, especially the Gen Zs and Gen Z and the Alpha Z, because they say, for what? What are these young men getting when we live in a world that have never conditioned men to demand or ask or expect anything in return? If you want to talk about who's the one that doesn't mind giving, it's the man. Men have always given. Men have always sacrificed their love for women. When men fall in love, it's dangerous. Most love songs from the past and the cruelness of those love songs was initiated by men. If you don't believe me, listen to this. Romanticism is a movement in the arts and literature that originated in the late 18th century, emphasizing inspiration, subjectivity, and the primacy of the individual. Romanticism, also defined in the dictionary, is the state or quality of being romantic. But something has begun to happen in these modern times in the Western world when many men feel that marriage is not a viable commodity for most modern men. In the past, when you go back to the 60s, you had groups like the Temptations. You had groups like Sam Cooke. You had groups like the Stylistics. You had groups like Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes. You had groups like Blue Magic and all the other romantic groups that were actually part of a time when love was actually in the air and the women actually responded to or acquiesced to the needs and demands of many men at that time. But now it appears that many men are frustrated with modern dating and relationships, as many men feel that modern women don't meet their demands or needs. And because modern women don't meet the demands or needs of modern men, many men are saying to themselves that marriage is no longer a viable commodity. And because marriage is no longer a viable commodity, many men have actually begun to shut down mentally. They begin to shut down socially, and they have begun to look within to find the love in the relationships that they're not getting in the current world that we live in. The question remains that in this modern world, in this modern contextual framework, is marriage a viable commodity for most modern men? Should men focus on themselves, and should men do what's best for themselves when it comes down to finding a woman of substance? Are modern women wife ready? Is romanticism and love dead? I want you guys to explore and begin to enjoy this show as we talk about the dynamics that have been impacted many modern men and women. And we're going to ask ourselves the question, if marriages are actually dead, what would be the outcomes for the future generations when it comes down to stability and community? If the marriages are also dead, what are modern women willing to do to acquiesce to the needs of men? Because in a relationship, it takes two in order to make that relationship become pliable, sustainable, and great. And therefore, the question remains once again, is love still in the air? Is the times of the past when we had groups like Blue Magic and the Stylistics gone before our time? I want you to explore and examine the evidence presented to you. And I want you to ask yourself the question once again, what is it in for American men to get married in this current world that we live in? Be well.
Fire.
For the typical average American man to get married in modern times. And many men will argue nothing. Because what was average yesterday is nowhere near average now. And all the false lies, tropes, and stereotypes associated with men, white or black, but especially black men, has become problematic. And so these are the type of men, the ones that's whispering this woman's ear, a small percentage that are causing the chaos in this so-called dystopian community. And what happens is that women are more vulnerable when they listen to evil men, but women are also more vulnerable when they are pregnant. A man is more vulnerable when he's impregnated mentally by the fantasy called love. Years ago, or only in the last 200 years, have the ideal of romanticism and love been some of importance. But back in the past, men and women that get married based on love. They got married based on survival, community, and family and faith. And what you're seeing now, the reason why this community has become, once again, so broken down and dysfunctional is because men have been blinded by an ideal called love. That's why I tell men never fall in love, never fall. You love within reason. I'm not saying not to love your woman, but you don't love your woman to the point that you lose your bearings as a man. And too many men have lost their bearings all in the name of love, only to have no fault divorce, only to have paternity fraud, only to lose everything they worked so hard for in the name of love. And so many men are beginning to wake up and do what's best for them. It's time to re-raise what's called competent men. A competent man is a masculine man that has self-discipline. God is his compass. He's mentally strong, he's focused, he's resilient, and he's very strategic. A lot of men, when they get in relationships, use what's called a cost-benefit analysis before they commit to a woman. Many men now are using cost-benefit analysis. What they're saying is that, okay, if I marry a woman, she don't believe that she's supposed to serve me. She's not chaste. She doesn't believe in traditionalism. So therefore, why get married? And so a lot of men are walking away. They don't care. It's not because they don't want to get married, but they don't see the benefit of getting married in a system that rewards bad behavior. Men are beginning to use God as their compass, and when it comes down to God as their compass, when it comes down to his boundaries, and then his anchor is his integrity, loyalty, respect, honor, and growth. And the world is beginning to take notice and see it, but many don't like it. Here's how manhood is under attack. I talked about this in the past. But here's how manhood is under attack. Let me tell you something, guys. The most important day of your life is the woman that you marry. Manhood is under attack in 4 different directions. Socially, men are disrespected. We call that in the clinical the biopsychosocial spiritual model. False accusations, cancel culture. Some of you men have been victims of false accusations. Cancel culture. Attacked by effeminate men or males that are weak. Men are attacked for the 4 dimensions of how we practice therapy as clinicians. Men are under biological attacks, poor diet, lack of sleep, low testosterone, porn addiction, physical degeneration. Men are under attack from a spiritual perspective. Attacks on faith, masculine women, Luciferian agendas, and spiritual manipulation. And then men are under attack psychologically. You got a generation of boys that have never seen men in power. You got a generation of boys that everywhere you look, we're not raising the boys and giving the boys the same kind of nurturing that we're giving the girls. Depression, anxiety, low self-worth, suicidal thoughts, and mental breakdown. So there was a time where black folks were very resilient. You didn't hear nobody talk about suicidal ideation in the black community because we had God and we had family, we had community. And I would argue it was lower in America in general, but now it's at an all-time high. And so what's happened now, guys, is that good men are saying, why would I get married? Because cheap masculinity never works. He made good choices. He's basically saying that I made good choices, so therefore I don't want no 304s. I don't want no baby mama drama. I'm going to be focused, disciplined, and build my legacy, and I'm going to be financially free. A lot of men now, guys, are practicing financial celibacy. A lot of men now are practicing financial celibacy. They're saying, I'm not going to spend, I'm not spending no money unless you're my woman, you're my wife. We can go on the coffee date, but until you prove yourself, I ain't spending nothing. These are the men that make good choices. I'm not talking about the dusty men. We're not talking about the percentage of men like the Raekwons and the Mans and the Day-Days and the Chads and the Brads. We're not talking about them. We're talking about men that made good choices and they were disciplined. And so these men are top tier men. And what they're saying is that I'm not going to pay a whole tax because I'm not paying for something that you gave to other men for free. I'm not paying for the whole tax. You didn't charge those men the whole tax, but you want to charge me the whole tax, but yet I can't charge you the lady tax. So the whole tax said, you're still not enough. She wants more no matter what he does. Why aren't you spoiling me? Which is narcissism. I deserve designer everything. How many men have seen that in relationships now? And I'm gonna play this clip in a minute, guys. But how many men have seen that in relationships now? Shout out to my man, to the brothers in the donate. Shout out to brother Don in the house. And shout out to my man Ray Johnson in the house. Shout out to brother Ray. Brother Ray always coming through in the clutch, man. Shout out to brother Ray and brother Don. As brother Ray Johnson, the #1 sponsor of the stream. And shout out to brother Ray Johnson. I'm going to send him play the tune in a minute. But I deserve everything. Your time is mine. Commit or somebody else will. Always demanding. Never enough. Always demanding. And so what men are beginning to do is they begin to recalibrate their mind. They begin to say, you know what? I'm good. I deserve better. I'm going to get better because my masculinity is too expensive. Anytime you get conditioned or get tempted to sell your masculinity away for free, you got to do what Jesus said when he said to the disciples. Jesus said, if you want to be a disciple of mine, you got to count the cost. You got to count the cost when you decide to go out here and put your life on the line like this man did recently. You got to count the cost when a woman wants you to marry her in a system that's not designed to protect you mentally, physically, emotionally, and also overall. I'm not against marriage. I've been married for 30 years. Over 30 years. I think marriage is a powerful institution if you get the right woman. But getting married in America is dangerous. And I've seen men suffer in silence due to the draconian laws here in America. Shout out once again to brother Ray Johnson for that $25 super chat, and brother Don. And brother Ray Johnson is the #1 sponsor of this stream. Shout out to brother Ray. Yeah, shout out to me, T-Bone. Yo, reach out to me, man. We're gonna make it real, and I'll let you know. It's not so. It depends on where you live. If you live in North Carolina, Virginia, then we can do therapy. But if not, we can do a consultation. So let me know. Shout out to friends on me. Shout out to my man Cliff. Guy, he said, here to pay my tuition fee and show support to channel, man. I appreciate it, Cliff. Gadget guy, thank you, brother. I appreciate it for that $9 super chat. But let's get back into it, guys. Let me reiterate why men are beginning to say enough is enough.
Want to save your life and peace of mind? Here's why compromise masculinity can never save defective women. Because this might happen. One sentence from this woman sent the internet into a war after she said this about black men. Why she's not your sister.
What happened to me and just...
Now, somebody got mad at me and said she didn't say black men. Well, she don't have to say it. It's implied. But see, it's women like her that thinks by default she demands or deserves any and all things from a man just because she says so. And let me tell you guys something. Women like this is very disrespectful to men. In other countries, she will lose her life being that disrespectful to a man. And I'm not advocating for violence, but to be that disrespectful, telling men to shut up, you will lose your life, ma'am, in other countries. Because in other countries, men don't tolerate disrespect. But see, only here in America can a woman disrespect a man like that and nothing happens. Not that I'm advocating for violence. Let me be very clear. But listen to what this woman said. Listen.
Shutting up and going to work every time. It's a podcast. It's a meme. It's a stream. Take y'all ass to work. Shut up. Y'all talk too damn much about nothing. About how y'all ain't giving the woman motherfucking money. We don't want to hear it. Okay? We don't want to hear it. Okay, you broke. We got it. Like, please. I'm tired of the think pieces. I'm tired of it. Damn, just be quiet.
Now, this is what happened to the man that lost his life. Women that have sons, teach your sons, don't put your life on the line for a woman that's not your woman. Because all this nonsense about, our community and all, they ain't your community. They're not your women, and they're not your community. Let them defend themselves. Because you can't say, I want the black man's protection when it comes down to peril. And when it comes down to independence, I can do things on my own. If you're an independent, sovereign woman, then you figure it out. If somebody breaking your house, you figure it out. If your tire break down on the side of the road, you figure it out. Because see, it's real strange, guys. The world that men created the world. Men created the world, men created the system that we live in. All men understand that we created the world. I understand that mankind created the world. Therefore, I respect the contributions of men. But what man in his right mind, after he created a world and give all the benefits to civil engineering, the platforms that liberal women use to denigrate men, what fool in his right mind is going to submit himself to a woman of that kind of moral character? So men, don't put your lives on the life, your lives on the life for women that are not your women. Just because her skin color is black does not mean she is part of your tribe. Your tribe might be an Asian woman. Your tribe might be an African woman. Your tribe might be a righteous white woman. Your tribe might be anything and all things that are synonymous to her respecting you and honoring you as a man. If a woman is not giving you anything in return, you don't give her anything because you don't want to reward bad behavior. And so many of you young men, white and black, that have never had strong fathers, you got to be the change that you need to be. Because she doesn't have any power but the power that you give her. The women that disrespect men on platforms, if men wanted to, they could destroy that woman if they wanted to. And I'm not saying it's right, but she really don't have any power. It's an illusion of power. If men want to shut the grid down, there's nothing she could do. If men want to take the computer away, it's nothing that she can do. If men want to shut down the electricity, it's nothing that she can do. If men want to shut the car that she's driving down, it's nothing she could do. She don't have no power but the power that men gave her. And what's happening now, but so many men are checking out. They're not dating. They're not getting married. They're beginning to see the bill of truth. The men don't care anymore. They go AWOL, absence without leave. Because sadly, and I do say sadly, that American women have begun to offer less, or average women offer less. American women are average women that offer less. And what men are saying is that I'm demanding more. I'm not giving my masculinity away for free. I'm not fighting for nobody. If somebody get caught up in a domestic dispute or a domestic violence situation, I'm going to call the cops. But I'm not putting my life on the line for somebody because her skin color is black. That's stupid. I don't know that woman. I'm not going to lose my life just because she's black. I'm not going to get in it. I'll call the cops. Because 9 times out of 10, that same woman that's being beaten mercilessly by that man, she'll go right back to him after everything is over. Sometimes they will attack you. So I'm not doing it.
As a man, if you see another man having a domestic dispute with his lady, you stay out of that. Because a man from Texas named Eddie Ray Hill Jr. tried it.
Eddie Ray Hill Jr. is gone because Eddie Ray Hill Jr. believed in the fallacy that just because your skin color is black, then therefore you're part of that same tribe. Black folks were never one in Africa. Black Africans were never one in Africa. Africa is a continent. It's not a country. Just like Europe is a continent. Just like Asia is a continent. Japanese and the Vietcongans are not the same. They're Asian, but they don't have the same beliefs. But somehow only in America, we assume because we were forced into oneness, that now all of a sudden, just because our skin color is black, we're supposed to support women that don't honor and respect us. You support women that honor and respect you. If it's a white woman, that's a godly woman, she's a good woman, she loves you, you go with a white woman. Because black men determine the sex of a child. If it's an Asian woman, if it's an African woman, it's a woman from South America. If it's a woman from Panama, if she's Afro-Brazilian, Afro-Latina, whatever. Nobody gets to tell you what your standards are. Women don't get to tell men what the standard is. She got to become the standard. You got women saying that they the prize. You're not the prize, ma'am. You're not the prize. You're the prize in your head. But you're not the prize unless you can get a man to put a ring on your finger. And the men that many of them want, they don't want them. Because many of them have been burnt out over the last couple of years. There were good men that loved them in their younger years. And some men have made bad choices too. But they didn't give those men the time of the day. And now they're getting older. Most of the eggs are gone, or they're frozen their eggs. A lot of them have been ran through severely. And now all of a sudden, they're looking for a good man. And a lot of guys say, man, I'm not taking that bad deal. I'm not paying full price for something that's damaged. I'm just not going to. And a lot of folks don't like it. They don't like it. So once again, we know that there's a percentage of defective, of compromised men that don't have standards. But our argument, on average, that most men are good. Most men are solid people. They're not perfect, but they're solid.
He tried to stop a domestic dispute, and the man killed him and himself. Eddie Ray pulled up to work and seen them getting into it in the parking lot, and he decided to do what he thought was the right thing and stop it. This man literally lost his life trying to be a stand-up guy. But the reason I say you shouldn't jump in these things is because you don't know what transpired before you got there or before you witnessed the incident. How did he know he just didn't catch his girl cheating at work? How do he know that? The man feelings all over the place for a reason.
Yeah, that's why I tell men never fall in love. When men fall in love, they are very vulnerable. You don't ever fall in love with a woman. I didn't say not to love her, because I know people will take my comments and run away with it. I didn't tell you not to love your woman. You can love her, but you have to love her within reason. And this is what happens when men fall in love. Listen, we all have been blinded by the spell called love. All men have. But if this man had walked away and said, you know what, I'm gonna let sleeping dogs lie, he wouldn't have been in jail and this other man wouldn't have been dead. Because by nature, men are wired to defend. Men are wired to defend. It's in our nature to defend and protect. And sometimes we do it to our own peril, and sometimes we do it to our own detriment.
Bro, if you see something like that, stand back. And if you got to do something, call the police, bro. People are emotionally unstable right now, man. They emotionally unstable, and they're willing to die about the things that they're going through in life, especially domestic disputes dealing with them and they woman. Prayers up for that man, bro. He tried to do the right thing, and ultimately it ended his life, bro. Pass the word along, man. Teach your sons.
How many of you men have been in predicaments where you could have lost your life trying to save a sister or a woman that you didn't know? How many of you guys have? Your friends on Millionaire. Yeah, same here, man. I'm trying to pay mine off next year, man. He said, broke Mo, I have 19 years left on my mortgage, but could pay it off tomorrow with my holdings in AMD alone. It's just not financially prudent. Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, I'm gonna pay. I'm trying to pay mine off, man. I'm trying to pay mine off. no, no Republicans. I don't know what that is. Wow, she said, why I don't get how black men are so angry at us. If you're not the kind of woman that we're talking about, it's not you, but it must be you, because black men are not angry at good women. They're angry at very obtuse women that have been liberally indoctrinated. But guess what? It's no problem. Black men are waking up. The ones that you didn't want and many didn't want are actually going AWOL, and it's okay.
Stay out of other grown men business when it comes to their lady, bro. For real.
Black men are not anywhere near the cancer of our community. We did not create slavery. We did not create redlining. We didn't create mass incarceration, underfunded schools, the wage gap, bank deserts, food deserts. We did not create this media machine that keeps people like Andy Cohen and Leor Cohen and let's see here, Jimmy Iovine in the billions. So I'm not going to report for duty respectfully under a lie.
So it's these false tropes that average invisible black men are complicit in things that they never had anything to do with. You know, they think black men are complicit in things they never had anything to do with. And that's the problem. Okay, T-Bone, I got you, brother. I'm going to reach out to you, man. I'll reach out to you. I will definitely be reaching out to you for non-diagnostic consultation. I will be reaching out. Thank you, sir. I'll be reaching out for a non-diagnostic consultation. If you got insurance in North Carolina, we'll look into that as well. But if not, because I see you got the 919 area code, man. You know, so I'm 919, and I'll call you at some point later. All right. Thank you, sir. But this same issue is that we keep saying that it's something called overgeneralization, that black men in general are complicit for the behaviors of men that are dusty and men like this.
Yeah, put chain on them. Balls on my mom. They be broken balls. Kill some of my mom. Bro, like, he look like gang. That's on my monkey. Gang. That's on my monkey. Gang. That's on my.
Yeah, these are the degenerates that cause dysfunction in the culture. These are the degenerates. But black men in general, and I would say solid white men in general, are just solid dudes, man. Most guys just want love and respect and be treated good. Are they degenerates in men? Yes. But I would say most guys on average are just solid dudes.
I'll report for duty to build. I'll report for duty to lead. I'll report for duty to correct men who are wrong. I will report for duty to protect women and children. I will report to duty to rebuild families and confront broken systems. When we have people like David, when we have people like R. Kelly, when we have people like Diddy, I condemn that situation immediately. But I also condemn Clive Davis. I also condemn Leor Cohen. I also condemn Andy Cohen, Scooter Braun, and everybody who is in charge of perpetuating.
So basically what Dave Anderson is saying is that it's a system that created the chaos that we're seeing now. But see, surface level thinkers can't think at that level. They can only think at a very base nature and a very base level. They can't think above the fray. And that's a problem.
This thug, gangster, nonsensical mythos of black men that becomes the standard as opposed to the exception.
That's called overgeneralization. That's what it's called in the clinical. It's an ego defense mechanism. And also it's something called broadcasting. It's false and fake broadcasting.
While also elevating a soft beta male simp mangina mentality that does not serve us when it comes to our communities and would not be tolerated in anybody else's community.
Because it's black, then your consciousness is. And y'all see this dusty Negro to the bottom here, this dust mite named Taz. And I'm gonna talk about it in a minute. When you know, just because your skin color is black, it doesn't mean you're part of my tribe. What makes a tribe is consciousness, values, and all those other things. And let me show you to you guys in a minute. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Let me show you guys what I'm talking about, if I can find it. Well, actually, I'll find it in a minute. Hold tight.
One thing, I don't associate with some of these dusty Negroes. I don't deal with them because their consciousness is not black. I don't agree with them because I believe that you can't have a black community unless black men are leading their communities. But when you got a generation of women that conspire with liberal white women, they conspire with maladaptive policies. We're in the situation that we're in now because of that. And when things happen, you have these people that have this pro-black ideology. I call it static blackness. And
I call it static black. That's the dust mite to the bottom, right beside me. He got very belligerent. I'm gonna do a show on it at some point. I was on DJ Hamp's show. Became very belligerent and disrespected me because he assumed just because my skin color is black, I had to think like him. I'm not a sucker. You know, I don't bow to women like this dust mite does. You know, I say what I mean what I say. And that's what's wrong with the world now. We need more men that's gonna speak up and demand what they want in relationships. Because here's the false premise. The false premise is that we all were one in Africa, and we weren't. When some conservative whites say, your own people sold you into Africa, that's a misnomer. That's a fallacy. I'm going to prove it to you in a minute. When it came down to, a lot of times people falsely equivocate skin color with being static and not understanding that tribalism in Africa was really very fluid. They assumed that skin color in Africa was static, but however, skin color does not always have what's called conscious association. So many of the great tribes and the great kingdoms in Africa, the Africans that sold other Africans into the transatlantic slave trade had nothing to do with skin color. It only became economic racism when we came here to America. It was due to economics. And a lot of the tribes that fought against one another in Africa, it had nothing to do with, they didn't look at them and say, oh, you're my brother, or because you're black. We became black under the guise of segregation politics, but they didn't see each other as black in Africa. That's why Dominicans say me no black, because they don't ascribe to skin color, they ascribe to their national origin. Only in America were Africans from the transatlantic slave trade seen as black, something that you can't measure. You can't measure black. And that's why some conservatives, you know, even though I'm conservative, I don't agree with them when they say your own people sold you, because ethnic conflict is no different in the black community or the black Africans or the Africans, the West Africans. Ethnic conflict is no different in African communities, no different in European communities, no different than Indian communities. But when it comes down to black folks, people, and I know what I'm saying is true, there have always been a false association that Africa is a continent. I mean, a country. Africa is not a country. There are multiple tribes within in one nation. You can have 100 tribes in one nation. So those tribes that came and were part of the transatlantic slave trade, their skin color was black, but they didn't identify as black. They identified based on their tribes. And now men need to start identifying women, and we need to start forming our new tribes, coming up with tribes where the women respond to your tribal consciousness and your tribal ideology. The master teacher said, who is my brother? And then he said, he that does the will of the Father, that's who my brother is. God was able to separate righteousness and consciousness over skin color. And that's why I'm trying to tell you, men, you got to stop putting your life on the line based on something that happened years ago. Black folks were forced to become one years ago, but we're not unified now. Women have more power than they ever had before in their lives. There's a small percentage that still hold to those traditions of yesterday, but the majority are defective. A large portion of them are defective. They've been indoctrinated by liberalism. They cannot think outside of the pedagogy that they were taught, white and black. So when people say, oh, your old people, they sold you into slavery. No, that's a lie. That's not true. Because if that's the case, then the white patriots that fought in America, they killed their own people too. Because the people that came to America and started America were Brits. And they came up with a concept called taxation without representation. And that's what black men in America have been dealing with. Some white men too, is taxation without representation. So just because a woman's skin color is black, if her consciousness does not reverberate your consciousness as a man, she's not your woman. If she don't strive to adhere to those things that's necessary for a strong community, she's not your woman. And you got to cast her to the wind. And you get with women that respect you and honor you. And that dirty word that many don't like is obey. If she can't obey your leadership like she obeys her boss, then she's not your woman. You find you a woman that can be part of your kingdom as a man. You find a woman that can be part of your tribal community. If she's an Asian woman, get you an Asian woman. If she's an African woman, get you an African woman. If she's a white woman, get you a white woman. You get with any woman. If she's an American woman that respects you, you get with that American woman. My point is, you follow the woman that follows you as you follow God, if you believe in God. So all this nonsense that black folks were one in Africa is not true. I don't associate with some of these people because their skin color is black. They're not from my tribe. I don't deal with dusty Negroes. Like the one that went on and started to disrespect me because we were just trying to have a conversation. Women of your tribe are women that are honorable. Women of your tribe are women that have emotional regulation. Women of your tribe are women that can respect you and follow order. Women of your tribe are women that don't tell you happy wife, happy life. Women of your tribe, guys, are women like these women from yesterday.
Fall comes to us in its own time. Fighters keepers, losers weep.
The women of yesterday were the women of your tribe. Those are the women that you ascribe or should ascribe to be with. But the typical or the average modern woman is not from your tribe. She don't get to determine what your tribe is. You do. She can either be part of your kingdom or she can keep it moving. But see, you got to see the power and the worth that you have as a man. Until you recalibrate your thinking, until you know what your worth is, you will continue to give your power and your masculinity away for cheap. That's why cheap masculinity never works. Compromised men can never help the effective women because it's not a power exchange. Power never concedes to nothing without a struggle. It never have and it never will. The ones that are wise will understand what I'm saying, but the ones that are not, they won't understand what I'm saying. So all this nonsense, just because your skin color is black, we supposed to be cool. That's an old model. That model was a survival model out of the struggle. Because if these women were your women, how did 92% of women vote Democrat? Why did they vote for policies that are antithetical to the things that your ancestors and your grandparents believed in? And I'm not a Republican, and I'm definitely not a Democrat. I believe in conservative values. I believe in conservatism as it relates to policy and also as it relates to family. So they're not your women. And we got to stop saying they're your women because they're not. You look at, it's a concept that I created back in the past, and it was called intertribal conflict and intra-tribal conflict. I came up with those terms. When the African slave trade came, there was something called intertribal conflict. These were tribes outside of the core tribe. They could have been from different nations. And so they didn't kill one another or take each other's lives because their skin color was black. That's called static blackness. It's the false assumption and the fallacy just because your skin color is black, then you believe the same things, and that's not true. Black people are not a monolith. Conflict can happen both between tribes and within the same tribe. The cause is different. The cost is real. Power, land, resources, and revenge. When you see black on black violence in the inner cities, it has nothing to do with necessarily skin color. Black people kill other black folks or people of the same hue due to the same reason why folks did it years ago. When the white patriots were fighting for power and sovereignty away from the monarchy of England, it had nothing to do with skin color. You can never say, well, those white men killed each other because they were white. No, they didn't kill each other because they were white. They killed each other because it was about power. And so the Africans that were complicit in the slave trade, it had nothing to do with skin color. It only became black or politically black when it came down to America. It started off as economics, and then it turned to economic racism. So you got to find women that are part of your tribe. Different tribes, different identities, separate leadership. They see each other as enemies, but the battle is outside the tribe. Destruction, displacement, loss of life. That was called intertribal conflict. Intertribal conflict. There were tribes that were fighting each other outside of the core tribes. So it was easy for them to sell other Africans to white men because it had nothing to do with race or skin color. It was called intertribal conflict. And I will argue that the large portion of the African slave trade was intertribal conflict, no different than what was going on in England, which was intertribal conflict. Intertribal conflict. That's from the same tribe. Conflict between different tribes. Even though it wasn't called a tribe, in England, you had the Brits, and then you had the rebels or the patriots, and they rebelled against the monarchy. They were white men, but they didn't believe in the same ideology because that's where separation of church and state came from. The British monarchy wanted to tax the American colonists that came to America. And they said that's taxation without representation. So they formed their own tribe, and it was called America. It was called America. Hold tight. It was called America. And that's why black men and white men in general got to stop subjugating themselves just for the sake of skin color. Intra-tribal conflict is conflict within the same tribe. That's called intra-tribal conflict. And I will argue there's a small portion of those Africans that were complicit in the transatlantic slave trade. I would argue that a small portion was intra-tribal, meaning it was warfare going on within their own tribes, the core tribes. Almost like intra-family familial conflict. Ego, power, jealousy. Same tribes share a shared identity, same internal division. Weak unity, broken trust, stalled progress. They share the same roots, but the balance within the tribe. So human beings have always been complicit in the things that I'm talking about. It has nothing to do with race or skin color, because there's no such thing as race. All human beings are, for the most part, the same. And most human beings come from Africa. So it had nothing to do with skin color. It was inter-tribal conflict and intra-tribal conflict. And I would say that the majority of it was inter-tribal conflict. That's why they sold other Africans in the transatlantic slave trade. That's why some conservatives are wrong when they say your own people. How do you know what their own people? Because your own people also played a role in subjugating one another when it came down to the Revolutionary War. Let me show you guys something. Hold tight. So what made black Americans one essence? Well, it was Jim Crow racism. Jim Crow racism made Americans one essence. That's what made us one. And ever since then, just like men are still on that old paradigm called love, that old 1952 paradigm called love, some people of West African descent still think that we are one unified tribe. They think when we came from Africa, we came from one big conglomerate. No, we were never one. In a movie called Roost, the man said, "Who speaks the language of the Wolof?" He said, "Who speaks the language of of the Igbo. They were different African tribes. And so what I'm telling you men is that you got to find a woman that's part of your tribe. If she ain't part of your tribe, don't get caught up in that static blackness just because her skin color is black. She's not your woman. If she's not marching for the same thing you're marching for, if she's not on Capitol Hill saying let's change these laws, white or black, she's not your woman. She's just somebody in the way. Because this is what made black folks one in the past. We became one essence because of the struggle. Jim Crow laws, no blacks allowed, the KKK, all of that made black folks one. But something radically has changed since then. We're no longer one essence because a lot of American women, white and black, but especially in the so-called black African community, they don't vote and do things what's best for the community. They do what's best for them. They become very selfish. And they lost what the core values were. The core values was faith, family, education, and togetherness. That's what it was. It was family, faith, family, education, and togetherness. There was a song back in the past called LTD. It was by Jeffrey Osborne, I believe. And it was called Love Together and Devotion. That's what it was about. It was about service to one another. That's why communities worked. And Paul Edom was correct. Something I've said before in the past. It's not going to ever happen back again in our lifetime. It's going to take a de-evolution in order for there to be an evolution. So stop getting caught up in this old dumb thinking that we're one. I've always said before in the past, there's a difference between our allies. They were allies. We were allies of a common cause back then. That was called Jim Crow racism. We were allies. Well, listen, when the American patriots fought against the British monarchy, black patriots came and helped fight, and also some Indians came to fight. And they came to fight because they were allies. During the World War II, they were allies. And so I've always said allies of a common cause. That's what masculinity is. We are allies of a common cause, and we dissipate once the crisis is over. But we've always been allies. And a lot of men now are becoming allies. Black men and white men are beginning to become allies now. Like in the struggle of war years ago, men became allies. They became allies because of the struggle. So when people keep saying, oh, they're your brothers, no, they're not. They ain't your women. They're not your women. And you should not be or feel compelled to fight for them, die for them, and give your power away for free. Shout out to my man, Peaceful Life in the House, man. What's going on, brother? How you doing? How would you like to answer this
salute to you, my brother. Peace and blessings, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yep.
I saw your topic and it was interesting. I did the video today and I was like, let me go ahead and chime in with my brother, man. We're basically covering the same topic and we're dealing with many of the same issues that we see, man. Salute to you, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I've talked about the concept, Peaceful Life. You and I always talk on the back end. You know, you and I have been chopping up for a long time. I call it Ump Talk. We probably need to start a second show called Ump Talk. But why cheap masculinity never works is the war cry. And, I talked about a guy named Roy. I can't think of his name, the Hill guy. I can't think of his name, Eddie Hill.
Right.
And we're still operating under this old paradigm, like the 1950 paradigm called love, but also we're operating under this nonsense that just because your skin color is black, then you're supposed to give your undying loyalty and devotion. What's wrong with that in your opinion, man? Go ahead.
Well, I think the fundamental thing is not this consideration of how the world has changed and how society has changed, especially when it comes to the programming of men and women. If you're programming women not to abide by the rules and structure of that old social contract, and you're to be focused on self, prioritize self, what's important for them in their life, and there's no type of expectation, Like you're putting these masculine burdens of expectations, but there's nothing on the female side that's matching those obligations or expectations.
Mm-hmm.
You have a one gender that's basically designed and being programmed to be this disposable, usable tampon, basically, the way I've described it. The other gender just can be selfish and live life and do whatever the hell they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just there as a safety net.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And that's
Mm-hmm.
what's sad about it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You know, you have been in America for a long time, but you have Caribbean descent from Bahamas, and you know this false notion that people are unified, and just because your skin color is black, you're supposed to go out of your way. What do you think about the Eddie Ray Hill, the man that lost his life, man, trying to defend a woman because she was black? What would you tell your sons? I mean, I don't always have a loaded question, but number one, what did you think about the Eddie Ray Hill situation? That's number one. And then number two, what do you tell your sons about giving their masculinity away for free? Because I've always said this, Peaceful Life, and I stand on it. Masculinity is expensive. And cheap masculinity never benefits defective women. What's your take on that? On those three things? Go ahead.
Well, the biggest thing about it is that you know, first of all, condolences to the family. I mean, there's a tragedy and tragic loss, and we don't want to see none of that ever happen. And that's why me and you put so much effort into this content, into these spaces. But the greatest tragedy is that, you know, that man's life, he sacrificed it. The women that are condemning men and saying that men are basically useless and men don't protect women are the same women within a week will forget about everything that he's done, his sacrifices, and will go back into the mindset of shaming men and buying into this social or programmed narrative of men as the enemy of women or the abusers of women.
Mm-hmm.
And his sacrifices will go in vain because he's robbed his family, he's robbed his kids, he's robbed everybody that loves him and cares about him of his presence, his provision, his protection, to protect an absolute stranger that will not even remember him when this is all over, and will he be completely forgotten? The people that have demonized his existence just for being a man will not appreciate it. So you're sacrificing your life. Look, I can't say why it would happen because a lot of men have daughters and they're kind of trapped between a rock and a hard place. But this idea that men are supposed to protect strangers outside of the realm of their protection, their community, like my neighbor's wife or your wife or our kids and the people that are close to us or bonded to us that we know the history of these people. Like we owe these duties and these obligations to a society who has told us that gender is a construct or masculinity is toxic until it's time to use it for their own benefit and purposes.
Right.
Now it's okay. This idea of masculinity on their terms, but there's no social obligation that obligates women to show men a certain type of respect. And we talk about all this time.
Right.
Responsibility without authority, responsibility without respect, responsibility without dignity, and even humanity.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, man. I totally agree. And the reason why I did this, I'm having this conversation is that static blackness is destroying a lot of men. This man put his life on the line because, you know, this dumb trope that she was a black woman. And what I'm trying to convey is that there's always been intertribal and intertribal and intratribal conflict. It's nothing new. Hold tight. But what's your take on that? It's an outdated model that we still call up in this broad umbrella that just because your skin color is black, you got to serve a community, because that was called an ally. That's when we had to be allies. You know, men, listen, when you think about America, when America was fighting, at one point the Germans were allies with the Americans, and the Americans had issues with the Brits.
Right.
But then it flipped in 1942. The Germans, and I believe America and the Brits became allies along with the Russians, and the Polish, I believe, and the Germans and somebody else were allies against America. So it's an old paradigm. It's an old paradigm. I'm solely convinced that it's not a lot, it's not all, but I would argue that a large percentage of American women in the West, white or black, but especially the American black woman, many of them, they're no longer part of our tribe. How would you respond to that?
I totally agree. And what's even more disturbing is the men that are pushing this old narrative, especially you see in the Dave Ramsey situation.
Oh yeah,
Dave's coming on.
Right.
Dave Ramsey. You got what's the guy's name? Scott Galloway's, the Steve Harveys of this world, and we got a whole army of jellyback, pandering simp men still talking to young men about these masculine duties and expectations of a world, of an environment where masculinity is viewed different until stuff hits the fan and they need men to defend them or protect them.
Right.
I call it disposable tampon, you know.
Right.
But, you know, I program my sons to be self-preservative in terms of I protect the people who care about you, protect your loved ones, protect the things that value you.
Right.
But this idea of this, you know, this general obligation that you owe your life to strangers is the absolute disastrous situation for men, especially the modern men. And these individuals like the Dave Ramseys, the Scott Galloways, are trying to hold men to this social contract that feminism has destroyed. They were arguing before this last administration, the very idea of what a man is. You're challenging the notion of what a man is, and now all of a sudden everybody talk about manhood and what men's supposed to be. But everything they talk about with manhood and masculinity is always about what benefits them and what men need to be doing for them.
Right.
They never talk about what men should be receiving, what men should be getting, how men should be treated in any regards. And they don't even talk about the standards for which women should be to be worthy of getting the things that they demand. None of that conversation is being had.
Yeah. That fundamentally goes back to the violation of the social contract. And as a licensed therapist, you gotta ask for something in return in order to get something. If you give your masculinity away for cheap, it's equivalent to a woman giving her body away without asking anything in return. At least a 304 expects to be paid if she give her body away. But I would argue that a lot of American men have been holed out because they're expected to give their time, money, resources, and attention for women that never give them anything back in return. As I'm continuing to play, I'm gonna ask you about why men must start their own new tribe, why they need to start a new tribe. We're gonna talk about that in a minute, but hold tight. All right, so it goes back to what I was saying earlier about the patriots. These are European agitators. You had the British monarchy on the left, and you had the white American patriots on the right. Some black men fought also like Christmas addicts, but they weren't from the same tribe because there was intertribal conflict. There was conflict of some sort. The conflict now is that feminism has told women that they are better than men, that they are superior to men, that men offer nothing. And because of that conflict, men got to stop putting their livelihood, putting their lives on the line, and giving to women that have not been trained to respect and honor men. But as you guys are watching or seeing, is that intertribal conflict supersedes skin color. Intertribal conflict or intratribal conflict supersedes skin color. And I would argue the problem is wrong with too many men today is that they don't know what their power and their worth is, man. What do you think about that? Go ahead.
Well, they don't know what their power and their worth is. And obviously, because of certain biological motivations and drives, in a construct that's been, or a situation that's been set up that overvalues women, you know, they feel like a lot of men are really, that haven't been raised properly or raised in a masculine environment, operate from a position of low self-esteem and scarcity. And that's the fundamental disadvantage in the programming. Like, you don't know better unless you've seen better. And we talk about all the time about global travel and seeing the world and seeing your value. Because you can tell men all day long what their value is, but until they get outside the box and move around the world and see other cultures, that doesn't mean that there's anything special about certain women overseas or whatever else, but a society that's not overly micromanaged by government and systems in place that try to elevate one gender so much above the other, and where masculinity you're trying to exist in an environment that is highly gynocentric. Gynocentrism is a serious problem because, again, it inflates the value of something that if you go to other countries and other cultures and other places in the world where people are not just government empowered, and you see the value of things, your mind cannot, you cannot unsee what you see. You're walking down the beach in Rio or down somewhere in Thailand or somewhere in Malaysia or other ways, whatever, and you're a Western man or you're a man in general, and you get to see your value as a man, it's hard to erase that. But it's very difficult to explain that to the young men. So what happens is a lot of them feel this urgency to take such bad deals, bad situations. It's just based out of pure scarcity.
Yep. You're right. Hold tight. So this goes back to what I was saying about the axis of power. One of the things I want to convey about war. Tribalism has nothing to do with skin color. It's all about conflict. Crips and Bloods are black, but it's conflict, intra-tribal conflict. Yeah. World War I from 1914 to 1988 were Europeans fighting against other Europeans. The British fighting against the Americans. No different than the Revolutionary War. During World War II, it was the Americans fighting against Germany. So my point is that just because you have black skin don't mean you have to be of the same cause. Do you see where I'm going at?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I totally agree.
Yeah, just because you have black skin don't mean you have to be of the same cause. Let me show you something else that a lot of people forget and don't understand. The two largest Indian wars in America was the American Indian War from the 18th to the mid-19th century, the Pontiac War of 1763, Northeast-West Indian Wars, the Tusculum War of 1811, the Black Heart War, and the Comanche War. Indians are helping white men defeat other Indians. Do you see where I'm going at? But see, yes. when Indians have done it, all ethnic groups have either been help white men, or white men fall against one another, or black men fall against one another. But when I hear some conservatives, even though I'm conservative, say, well, your own people sold you into slavery, that's a myth. Because if that's the case, then do we say that these different Indian tribes were the same tribal people? They weren't the same tribal people. The Sioux were totally different than the Comanches or the Cherokees. They were red men, they were Indians, but they didn't have the same beliefs and the same ideology. Scouts, interpreters, allies in battle, treaties in politics, supply and protection. The Sioux War of 1862 to 1890. They were Native American Indians aligning themselves with Europeans to subjugate other Indians. No different than what Africans did. Do you see where I'm going at?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
So what's your take on that? Go ahead.
I think you're correct, absolutely correct. And what happens inevitably is, I think the powers that be, systematically, the motivation behind a lot of this is economic, political, in terms of controlling certain populations for voting and power. Especially you deal with the Black community. It's very easy to manipulate the women, and the women have gotten addicted to power.
Yep.
And you talked about power never surrendering without a struggle. They're not going to give up that power. So even if they're in a position to subjugate the men, they're not going to give that up. So they've constructed that for the purpose of manipulating that particular population for votes. And in terms of all the other communities, white community, they give women power because women do 80% plus of the shopping and they vote. So it's a manipulated process because they want to fuel economics, they want to fuel the economy. And if you empower women a certain way, not just from a labor perspective, but from a spending perspective, the man can't tell her to stop spending in that house because she runs the roost and his life is being designed around her life. She tells him what to do. She tells him, I'm going to spend some money on this credit card. I'm going to run up these. You're going to have to, I can't drive this car. It's an embarrassment. And now he's spending money, which fuels the lifestyles and the living of those people at the top of the food chain.
Yep.
A society where the average man has no control of his household is a very profitable world and profitable environment for those that are a part of the ruling class. So I think systematically we're being programmed to serve. It goes beyond race. White men, black men, all men that'll live under this gynocentric system are, when you see people that are conservative, used to be conservative like Dave Ramsey, saying the most asinine simp crap out of his mouth, you know that the system itself has been compromised. The church itself has been turned into nothing more than a nesting ground for covert feminists and Christian feminists trying to manipulate themselves into a marriage after abusing the word of Jesus and God and the church and everything else. So we have a situation now where programming men a certain way and how it's infiltrated every aspect of our society. And now with the young men, Gen Z especially, turning more conservative, there's a serious problem that they find in it because they can't brainwash them as easy as they used to before because of people like you and me and many of the men in the chat. It's not hard. It's hard to brainwash these Gen Zs anymore.
Yeah, right. And you know, a lot of men, you know, the name calling, the shaming language, men are becoming. They just laugh at it, man. They just laugh at it, man. And so that's why I said that black men men in general got to start recalibrating how they think, and say just because you have black skin, it doesn't mean you're a woman. You're not a woman. So the American Indian Wars, I mean, you see it, man. Native Americans fighting against white men or fighting against the Confederacy, but at the same time, other Indians helping the cavalry capture other Indians. And that's how men got to start thinking. We got to get out of this static blackness just because your skin is black, then you got to rock with us and you got to protect the community. Listen, I've always said before, once again, Peaceful Life, the women that are women are the women that are going to honor us and respect us and follow our leadership. The ones that don't, we're not going to do it on your terms. Now, what are you seeing in the dating market that you didn't see maybe 20, 40 years ago? That's number one. And then number two, when did you have your epiphany about masculinity being cheap?
Well, I had it a long time ago. I'd say in the 90s, really, just watching the different relationship structures and how many of the men who got married under the old system thinking that because we've been programmed a certain way, that this is what we're supposed to do, the right thing.
Right.
And how the women were being programmed basically just strong, independent, and run the roost. So I saw the problems that happen in a relationship where we have women that were just basically rebelling against men's leadership and authority. But I mean, the second part of your question, can you repeat that again? I'm sorry, man, to make sure I answer that.
Yeah, I think I was saying that when did you come to your epiphany, man, that, you know, you had to
I came to my epiphany, but I would think it's in the 90s. And most of it is by when you get into relationships and marriages and you're experiencing it from the inside out, you really realize the imbalances in nature where you're literally fighting against a culture to maintain some type of to keep your family on the right track, to do the right things in terms of raising your kids, the way how you think that they should be raised, and there's challenges that come to your leadership as a man within that house, from society, the distractions and all those things. And I think that happened to me more so in the 90s while I was following the social program or that image that we had been programmed to believe what family life was about, what masculinity was about, certain things you should be doing as a man. And when you do those things, you understand that you're going to get a tremendous amount of pushback in life, and the support that you should be getting many times don't come for a lot of men. But that gave me my wake-up call in the 90s. But since then, you know what I mean, when I look at the modern dating and relationship dynamics today, and I've said it before in many of my video, marriage today is the last stop on the sexual liberation rail lines. The men today that are getting married are getting the women at their worst. After they've focused on their careers, after they've had fun with the basketball, football team, after they've had multiple men. So the guy that's getting married today might be guy number 20, number 10, number 40, number 45, number 50. So, and marriage today for most men have become nothing more than a humiliation ritual. If you're seen by all the simps getting embarrassed, the big muscular guy who lifted weights, what's his name? One in Dubai he's getting divorced now. You're seeing the comedian sing. You're seeing all these guys, when these women open their mouth, you see the type of beta male simp relationships that they have with these women where their masculinity has been completely compromised. So marriage today for men is, I always say, you're getting unless not all men, because some men get to pick that which is hasn't been how would I say it in a nice way, that hasn't been thoroughly sampled by the market. But the majority of men is usually, especially now, what's worse now is because of the economics of the situation, they just can't go get ran through by that thug anymore. They're starting to look for, we saw with Afro Tech, we talk about it. They're starting to look for that guy they wouldn't date when they were 21 and 22. So I see an environment of exploitation. And then I see an environment where they're, I always say Klay Thompson was hope, and they took away that hope. And now what they're doing is doubling down on religion. They have turned the church into a refreshing rebuilding center where they're rebuilding their virtues and they're charging marriage MSRP. So they're trying to go after the men they wouldn't date when they were 21. They really don't like them, but it's like a money grab out here today because of the economy, because of inflation, because of the way things are going in society, because of the loss of government empowerment, because of the loss, that ability to depend on government to fund you or to pay for these basket leaving degrees is gone. And then now the last thing that's left is men.
The only thing left is men, and a lot of guys I begin to realize that masculinity is too expensive. You still got some simps out here, but yeah, it's bad that Dave Simp Ramsey did what he did, because Dave Simp Ramsey used to always say,
goodness.
"You don't even." He said, "I remember Dave Ramsey used to say, you don't even co-sign for a family member." So if I don't co-sign for blood, what makes you think I'm gonna co-sign for a woman that's not even my wife yet?
Oh, you remember the debt thing? What is it? That 90 or 100,000 only in debt?
Yeah, right. $90,000 debt thing, man.
Man, Dave, I don't know. That makes me think though how much these guys have been compromised, and even the church, man. I tell you, man, the conservative cuck. It's the new phenomenon, the new standard right now. Where these guys, you can't trust. Like old institution that used to be held up standards and values and morals, because we got so many ran through women, we got too many women that have been single moms and everything else like that. And because of the money, like they can't afford to get these women angry because the women won't come to church anymore. They'll stop paying. And it's like they're walking on eggshells to appease and pander to women and park morality, in the back door. Like they don't preach the gospel. They preach the gospel as it appeals to sugarcoating life for women. I mean, making women feel easy, making them feel comfortable. Because all you have to do is talk about men all day long and beat them down.
Right. Yeah. The real CP show. I asked you, brother Casey, against Kamala would have been selected. Yeah, it definitely would have been more. They probably had me a piece of life in dresses, man.
Come on, man.
If she hadn't been president. But it just proves my point that what made Black folks one tribe in the past was struggle.
Right.
These women are of their own now. They do what they want to do. And fine, let them do what they want to do. Somebody said, let sleeping dog, let these horses run free. I know you said that piece of life before in the past. I don't know if you said it or Coach Greg or both of y'all said it, but
I said it, Coach Greg said it too. But you have no choice now, because unless a guy, and like I said before, guys got to get some point comfortable with taking none of the above as an option when they have bad deals on the table. Sit this one out until the deals get better, or use relationship capitalism to go get something else. And we would talk about that concept. You don't have to take a bad deal. Men can take no deals and sit this shit out, excuse my language, but sit it out for 5 years. Let them figure this stuff out. And what happens now, like I said, they're uncomfortable and they're nervous now, but they're still talking about relationships on their term. So they're still arrogant. Because like you said, we have an infestation of simps, panderers, and, you know, all these types of men that are just pandering to them. You got the internet that gives a certain amount of attention and validation. And like I said, we're dealing with the simp army that's slowly, because what happens is this, in my opinion, you can pander and simp all you want, but if a woman can't afford to pay her bills, that pandering and simp not gonna last too long.
Yeah. I totally agree, man. You're right. Let me show you something.
Want to save your life and peace of mind? Here's why compromise masculinity can never save defective women. Because this might happen. One sentence from this woman sent the internet into a war after she said this about black men. Why she's not your sister.
What happened to men just shedding and going to work? Every time. It's a podcast. It's a meme. It's a stream. Take y'all ass to work.
Think about how disrespectful this woman is, man. Think about telling grown men, take your A to work. Look, I'm not endorsing violence, but let me say this. This woman would have had her jaw broken in other countries, man, or probably would have lost her life. You would never have the power to talk to a man, be that disrespectful to a man in other cultures, in other countries. You know, they become so emboldened that not only do they talk slick, but the infrastructure, the civil engineers that built this world, they give them no respect.
Right.
You know, and then when I show these videos and I show the disrespect, I'm the bad guy for responding to it, man. But hold on, let me finish playing this clip and I'm gonna let you respond to it. Hold tight.
Y'all talk too damn much about nothing. About how y'all ain't giving the woman the fucking money. We don't want to hear it, okay? We don't want to hear it. Okay, you broke. We got it. Like, please. I'm tired of the think pieces. I'm tired of it. Damn, just be quiet.
Can you imagine a woman telling a grown man to be quiet? Go ahead. Give me your input on that.
Well, when I see videos like that, I consider it the fact that the men have won. And the reason why is what I'm saying. What we focus on what women say, because women are good at poker face many times on the internet. And what I see is an individual that probably cries herself to sleep at night.
Right.
You know, so when we and you know, as a therapist, you know even better than me. When you look beyond what she's saying, is the opposite of what she's saying.
Right. That's called reaction formation. Right. It's called reaction formation. That's what it's called.
What she's saying is you dudes have blocked up and broke up. Y'all have blocked my scam. I can't go to the church no more and get me a sucker sim. Bless you, brother.
Thank you.
These dudes are not dating me anymore. They're not paying for my crap. They're not marrying me and I'm getting old. They're not giving up their resources for me. They're not doing anything for me. So a person like that is probably on medication, in my opinion. I'm guessing. And they're probably not sleeping very well because of guys like us and because guys, young men today and men in general, are not giving them what they want. The men that they want are not giving them the men that the things that they want. Shame has failed, you know, and they have no incentive to offer men. They have nothing to offer men except heavily, vigorously, and viciously pounded out used box. That woman is on the end of the rope. She's desperate. So it's just like, remember when we talked about it, right? The women with broke shaming men. What they're doing is they're hoping to catch a man with low self-esteem that's going to say, if the guy with low self-esteem is going to respond to her like this, oh, we got money, we'll show you. and he'll go out there and spend money on some chicken heads to prove his manhood and his masculinity. But it's reverse psychology. And when you use the term, the term you just used to describe what she's doing, it is psychological manipulation. It's like the chicks that go to church right now. The whole goal is to hold the religious shotgun to men's backs and get these men to pay marriage MSRP for their mismanaged youth.
Yep.
They mismanaged their youth. They used the product, they put it back in the box, and they took it to the church and had the pastor take up the box and put a brand new price on it. They're trying to basically manipulate men into spending money, into marrying them, and they can't stand the fact that a peaceful life is dropping the hammer every day on them. They're not getting what they want. So they can cry themselves to sleep all they want. A peaceful life, when he sees videos like that, I just increase the torque. All you're telling me is what I'm doing is working. What you're doing is working. Give them more of what they don't like.
Yep. Give them more of what they don't like. And it's working, man. Guys are becoming so indifferent, man.
Well, there's no incentive. There's no incentive. And we talk about Klay Thompson with the PNC. When that dude finally got that PNC regret, you see that 1,000-yard stare in his eyes, and there's no incentive. There's no incentive. Once he rode that stallion, and he started calculating in his mind the cost that the price when he got away. He said the juice ain't worth the squeeze, Kosher. He's like, I got to get up out of this one. I don't care what I got to do. I don't care if I got to create an affair. I got to get the hell up out of this situation here. And Klay he did anything he could to get away from this broad because, again, he realized that I got to be tied to her. Hell no. And Klay had no business going down there sampling them stallions. He needs to stay his ass in the suburbs where he belongs.
Yep.
He ain't never business down there.
And she thought it was going to be I guess she thought it was going to be another Sierra story, man. But the internet, these conversations, man, is giving men, it's awakening a lot of men up. And a lot of folks don't like it. They don't like the fact that men are beginning to wake up and begin to live their lives on their own terms. They don't like it. And listen, here there's not really a clear delineation on peaceful life between the 304s from the hood and the educated women. Even the educated woman 304. You heard about the judge that was getting.
Oh yeah, I haven't gotten into that story. Right, go ahead. Go ahead, and elaborate, brother. My story about the judge.
Yeah. Actually, I'll play it in a minute. But hold on, let me finish.
Oh,
this video. Yeah, the judge, she's a 304. Shout out to my man in the National Quiet Storm.
Hey, salute
he says
to my brother Quiet Storm.
She has been eating too much of that wig.
Well, yeah. But hey, I want to say this too, man. Men gotta understand that there's two versions of women.
Right.
There's the women that you see all day long mouthing off, and then there's the women that when the dark comes. When the dark comes, the darkness brings out the truth.
Yep.
And when they're alone by themselves, that's when the antidepressants come out. That's when reality hits them. That mouthing off, what they say is nothing more than a pump fake.
Yep, pump faking.
The truth about them is when they're alone in the dark, that's when their lips start quivering and them tears start coming, and they start looking for the Coach Clinician's email. I know that guy, he said some stuff with a peaceful life, but I better call him up. Maybe he has the answers to this pain.
Shout out to my man, free agent ATL for that $2. Appreciate it, brother.
Hey, salute, brother. Appreciate this. Hey, guys, please support the channel support independent content, gentlemen. Keep these independent channels going. You can send the Kosher Clinician a Cash App, a Super Chat. You want to support, keep this content independent, support the channel, gentlemen. Appreciate all your support.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Go check out Peaceful Life too, guys. Make sure y'all support that good brother. He's doing some good work.
Yeah, but they on some you talking about some pain? Man, there's pain out here.
And Paul Edom said, and I agree with Paul, it's gonna get a lot worse before it gets better. That's why, I'm saying this one out, man. I could care less. Usher said, "Let it burn."
Yeah, but we're also brothers like you and me. We're dealing with the virus itself, which is males' low self-esteem.
Right.
And that is changing the environment because, like you said, men respond to incentives. You can shame a man all day long, but there ain't nothing at the end of that rainbow other than some pre-owned that the women are actively selling nowadays. It really ain't much to be motivated about. And we saw, like I said, we saw the guys who have had that PNC pain.
Right.
And guys know that, hey, look, these relationships are not lasting because what happens is these women have been raised to be self-centered, selfish, and focus on themselves. And the relationship is all about them.
Mm-hmm.
So they really haven't been raised to pour into men or offer men value. And after a while, a man starts looking at his wallet and you start realizing, he goes on empty, that testosterone is worn down, and he starts listening to her and she starts talking and then he starts, feeling betrayed by what's downstairs. He starts looking at it at night and he develops a anger with that testosterone that drove him to make this to make these decisions. I don't say, could it be so? I mean, you're a therapist. Could a man grow to resent his own how would I say, his own phallus?
well, if you deal with Kendra G, because Kendra G said she the prize. She said, Kendra G said, I'm gonna see if I can find it.
A man resent his own phallus.
Right. Which she said she's the prize because she had to make money and she can't deal with men that got little penises or some mess. But I feel so sorry for that help. This is for you people. Like, go ahead and read that, brother.
I mean, salute to my brother, man. Brian Espada. Salute, my brother. Thank you, gentlemen, for what you all do. It's because of men like y'all. Young men have the insight and the wisdom to navigate this wicked world. Ty, salute, my brothers. But I think that's what's going on right now. A lot of men, remember back in, I'm not saying you, because I know you're a spiritual brother, religious brother, and I'm saying that there used to be a code where guys would send the other man 911. Basically, they got into some stuff that they're not supposed to be gotten into.
Right.
And they need you to call their phone and say that their mama is sick or something. And I think a lot of those calls are coming in nowadays, guys getting out of some situation, because we've basically had a female population that have literally been raised to be loads and not help men, not be an asset to a man. Mm-hmm. So now you have brothers going through some serious. I think some brothers be forced to go into monk mode because of that.
Yeah.
They just sit 3 months off, take 3 months off and sit this one out right there. And they just go to the gym, work, save their money. The PNC is too painful nowadays.
Yeah. It is too painful. Shout out to my man, the International Quiet Storm, him and my brother Ray Johnson, showing love, man. I call them the West. Hold on, I gotta play a little sound clip for them. The West Coast homies, man. I gotta play a little sound clip. Give me a minute, peaceful life. I gotta play a sound clip for the West Side homies. Hold on. Shout out to Quiet Storm and my man Ray Johnson, the West Side homies, for that $25 cash out.
I'm a rock star in real life. We was doing Grand Theft Autos, hitting licks, home invasions. It was a good night. Take the goods to the plug, then he bring us back by 2K. Feeling like a baller, see the Jordan on my shoelace. Nuketown, stepping off buses, hopping on fences. Call of Duty, me and my niggas, we in the trenches. Camping at the crib, playing true crime LA. Santa Dre's nice, bumping Ice Cubes, good days. Such a
Shout out to my man Quiet Storm and brother Ray from the West Coast.
Hey, salute my brothers.
And they're the #1 sponsors of the stream. I really appreciate it, guys. Don't let those guys be the only brothers donating as me and Peaceful like break this thing down. Hold tight. Shout out to those two guys that they're the #1 sponsor. Man, my eyes are looking like Cookie Monster trying to find this.
What's that? No, I'm saying we got to talk about this, man. Men are going through some scheme afflictions right now.
We're going to a lot of scheme afflictions.
But I'm thinking, like I said, I think it's phallus resentment, PNC regret, and just sadness sometimes when you had hope and you think you found something good and you sample it and then the honeymoon phase go and you start seeing the reality of what you really got.
He said you want to peace.
Hey, salute. I appreciate the International Quiet Storm. That's my brother, man. He's You know, he's on membership on the channel, man. Salute, man. Always supporting, man.
Always, man.
Always
Brother been a ride or die, man. Good brother. I got number love for that brother, man. He been riding with me for years, man. And he's a real one, man. He's definitely a real one. Got number love for that brother.
But we never, I was thinking about it too. I mean, never talk about the experiences men are getting from dealing with modern women and that PNC regret. You know, I've heard the brothers like ask about prostates talking about instead of having PNC, have pre-clarity. But it's hard to have pre-clarity when you have men have 20 times more testosterone than women.
Right.
And we have this imagination. And that's why I talk about men not living in the past. Because in men's mind, this is program expectations of what he thinks or what he wants or his wishes or his desires or what he wants to get out of a woman. But when he realized that you're dealing with some, not all, I mean, the majority of them that have just been programmed to be loads. I mean, and really just that they think that the only value that they have to offer a man or the only thing they have to bring to the table is something that has been heavily used.
Yep. And the simp revolution is changing. Let me play this clip. I was on Jeff St. James show.
Oh, there you brother. Oh, that
shout out to young Jeff.
chilly back down there in the corner.
Yeah, you talking about you talking about that simp.
You're the one who said reporting to duty for certain individual of a certain community is now telling men.
He wants y'all to report to duty.
And he said, I'm reporting to duty after that comment. That just tells you the sad state of the community when an individual that's on the fringe is telling masculine men, shaming masculine men in the community. That's a sad state.
But this goes back to reaction formation. A lot of times men that project that is because they don't have power.
Yeah.
They don't have power in their own relationships, man.
No.
And so in order to make themselves feel good, to assuage their ego, they gotta verbally macerate other men. They don't have power.
Well, that's saying that sometimes to cover up like a good offense covers up a bad defense. They go on offensive in order to knock men back on their heels by using our own ego and pride against us.
Yep.
When he tries to hijack the topic of masculinity and add his own nuances and try to put in the sense that if you're a real man, you do this, and you're a real man, you do that.
Right.
Everything about
and
we talk about this projection that they do when they have no power at home. It's displaced aggression, like you see many times in the community. The males are very aggressive towards other males, but they're scared as hell of the women. They're bitch led. They can't stand up to the women. They can't. So I see a guy like that Whitfield guy down here. I can tell right away that he's a bitch led man right off the back, and he's projecting onto other men the power that he doesn't really have.
Yeah.
And even when he talks about leadership, we talk about that.
Yep, that's the reaction formation. Hold tight.
Broken systems. When we have people like David, when we have people like R. Kelly, when we have people like Diddy, I condemn that situation immediately. But I also condemn Clive Davis. I also condemn Leor Cohen. I also condemn Andy Cohen, Scooter Braun, and everybody who is in charge of perpetuating this thug, gangster, nonsensical mythos of black men that becomes the standard as opposed to the exception, while also elevating a soft beta male simp mangina mentality that does not serve us when it comes to our communities and would not be tolerated in anybody else's community.
Because black, then your consciousness is of one thing. I don't associate with some of these dusty Negroes. I don't deal with them because their consciousness is not black. I don't agree with them because I believe that you can't have a black community unless black men are leading their communities. But when you got a generation of women that conspire with liberal white women, they conspire with maladaptive policies. We're in the situation that we're in now because of that. And when things happen, you have these people that have this pro-black ideology. I call it static blackness. And the presumption is that just because your skin color is black, your consciousness got to be black. But here's the problem with that, DJ Hamp. Black people were never one in Africa.
Respectfully. But see, here's the paradox. Here's the paradox with this static blackness or flat blackness, or I call it static blackness. It's a presumption and the assumption that just because your skin color is black, we all belong to the same tribe, and I refute that highly. I will argue parenthetically that most there's a percentage of black women that are part of our tribe, but a lot are not part of our tribe. And I agree with Dr. L. I agree with Dave Anderson. You know, I'm saying, you my brother, I love you, but I'm not taking accountability for that because she's not part of my tribe. The biggest misnomer when it comes down to black folks is that, especially with black men, where black women are in power, then they are a separate entity. But when they're in peril or pain, then black men must come to the rescue. And Obsidian, you killed it, man, on that show. You said, I'm not going to serve for people that don't honor and respect me. And the problem is that when you consistently reward bad behavior by asking black men to undo things that they never done, then it becomes problematic. And instead of reinforcing good behavior, you reinforce bad behavior. Part of a healthy relationship or a functioning relationship is a concept called synergy. You can't have soul fusion if you don't have synergy. But many times in the black community, black men are asked to do unhealthy undoing instead of doing healthy undoing. So the unhealthy undoing. So you and I, Peaceful Life, talked about undoing when we were talking on the back end. And so healthy undoing, it's like, if I did you wrong, I come to you and say, you know what, Peace, I'm wrong. I take ownership for that because I don't like the guilt associated with being disrespectful to you. But performative masculinity is unhealthy undoing because they're undoing things out of fear and shame, especially instead of doing things out of true altruism. Right. What do you think about that, man? Go ahead.
Well, I've talked about this a lot. We had this conversation where we have in a situation, we have an upside down reality where the tail is wagging the dog. Mm-hmm. So what happens is we have this situation where the unrighteous get to shame the righteous, and they make the righteous bad for doing the right thing. If you're squared away and doing what's right, the mindset, the mentality of this altruist mindset, they're like trying to shame you and think that you're the bad person because you don't want to help people that mismanage their life and that do the wrong things. You don't want to save people from the consequences of their actions, and therefore you're bad and you're a horrible person. You owe these people your life, and you're bad because you do the right thing, and they're just victims because the victim mentality, there's no profit in you not being a victim. It's sold by the race hustlers. It's sold by the politician. It's sold by everybody that wants to control you and extract resources or get the government to sponsor programs that benefit them. They have this mindset, this mentality of shaming those that do the right things and trying to make men especially feel like they're obligated to help people who are doing the wrong, who willingly choose to do the wrong thing. With all the technology and all the information out here, they willingly choose to do the wrong thing. And when they get bad outcome, it's your responsibility. And it's your responsibility to give your life to save them. That's the problem I have with that whole idea and mindset of the community, because they think that the functional should be sacrificed to save the dysfunctional. And there's no requirement of that sacrifice. There's definitely no reciprocation. It's almost like they want you to have responsibility without authority. Hand over your wealth, your resources, hand over your money, but shut up.
Yeah.
If you have an opinion to give me that would solve my problem, now I'm going to tell you that you are Uncle Tom or a coon or a sellout, or you ain't black, or you ain't this, or you ain't that, or you ain't a man, you ain't a real man. Hand over your resources, your money, sacrifice. Don't set any standard. Be quiet. You owe us, and you're here to rescue us from all of our bad decisions, but keep your mouth closed. Or if you speak off code, they're going to call you your name. And that's that's how they operate. That's how they operate, man. You can't change that.
That's how they operate. You're 100% correct. And you're right, because I remember
they're using religion now. See, what happens is, I call it the Clay Thompson failure. Everything is failed. Right. They tried the ego one, where they tried to call you broken dusty to shame you into spending money. And for men that are weak, they're going to go and peacock and spend money. That failed. They tried the economy
so bad they ain't got the money to spend.
I know, right? They tried to shame us into marriage and shame the money out of guys. That didn't work.
Right.
And then they tried the 304 strategy, which is basically what Meg Thee Stallion tried to do, and Clay Thompson destroyed hope. So now they're going back to the good old. They're going to run religion now. Religion is the last play before they finally break. So what they're going to do is this: they're going to try and religious shame the money out of us, and they're going to try, like when I made the video today about this woman talking about some woman was getting into a situation and no man stepped up to fight. And I basically described the guy who a couple of weeks ago in Texarama, the brother we talked about, that gave his life to a woman, how quickly they forgot him. You see what I'm saying? So no matter his sacrifice, they went back to the strategy of shame and disrespect and whatever else. But the reality is that religion is going to be the weapon now, because you can use religion to manipulate weak men to get money out of them, to get resources out of them, to get sacrifice out of them. Because you know that most men, especially in our community around, may have some Christian or religious upbringing. So you're using their conscience and you're saying the Bible or God says you're a bad person if you don't help these people that are irresponsible or created their own problem. You can't judge them. You're supposed to help them. You're supposed to accept this woman that is, you're a guy number 45, and you're supposed to forget all of her past, because God has cleansed her of that vigorous and vicious pounding. But if you're a bad person, if you say, look, what she did in the past don't matter. She's been born again, revirginated, bathed in the blood of the Lamb, and you're going to have to go ahead and marry that woman with her 2 kids and take care of these single moms and do all this other stuff, because that's the righteous thing to do. And if you reject that, you're an unholy demon. And you are against God. That's what they're trying to do.
Well, and listen, man, it is definitely manipulation, man.
It's manipulation, like
I call it spiritual narcissism. It's definitely manipulation. And listen, can God forgive people? Yes. Does God give grace? Yes. But man and God is 2 different things. And just because God forgive you from having a sordid past, you don't have to marry a woman like that, because most women ain't gonna marry a man with a sordid past. Now, can you imagine a woman, if this man came to a woman peaceful life and he said, God saved me, I don't do the things I used to do anymore. He said, and he comes to the woman and said, can you love me, forgive me? Because in the past, I used to deal with men's. That woman ain't gonna give him a chance. Hold tight.
Not gay no more. I am delivered. I don't like men no more. I said I like women.
If that man comes and say, listen, if that man comes to that woman and say he don't like men's, not men, but men's with a Z no more. He like women. That woman's not gonna give that man a chance. She ain't gonna have no grace for that man for being pounded by other men.
But they coming hard though. They be like, look, if you don't hand over your money, help these people, this church, you going to hell, you demon. You ain't married these 304s, these born again 304s. You're a bad man. How dare you judge people? Who do you think you are? So really, they're trying everything to get men to hand over their resources to the church, to these women that have mismanaged their youth. Shame. Everything's shame. Now religion, they'll hit you with about 30 scriptures. So I call it the panhandling attempts to loosen out that wallet out of your back pocket. They hit you with 10 scriptures as to why you need to be doing what you need to be doing and doing more to save these folks that have made poor decisions in their life. And if you don't save them, what a horrible demonic man you are. They think me, a peaceful life, is a demon. They're like, how dare you tell these men not to save these 304s?
Right. Well, like I said earlier in the show, man, they want to keep charging. They want to charge men the whole tax, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. Give me 1 minute. They want to keep charging.
They're going hard in the paint, though. They're going hard in the paint, man.
Right. Shout out to my man Hashish Bass for that 5. Hold on for a minute. Hold on. Healthy undoing is an ego defense mechanism that says that I did Dave wrong, so therefore I'm going to go to him as a man and apologize. I did Jeff wrong, I'm going to go to him as a man and apologize. But unhealthy undoing is a psychopathology where black men are told to undo something they never done. And that's dangerous because, see, I've always said, Jeff, and the panel, that we got a generation of defective women and compromised men. And when you have defective women and compromised men, what happens? Men don't get power, they lose power. Here's the paradox with this static blackness or flat blackness. I'll call it static blackness. It's a presumption and the assumption that just because. So this is the deal now. You and I talked about something years ago, Peaceful Life. Right. And you came up with a concept called relationship capitalism. I came up with a term called hoflation. I had never heard the word hoflation. Years later, I heard other people saying that. But about 4 years ago, I talked about hoflation. And so the whole tax is the tax that a woman charge a solid dude like your son. Right. After she had all her fun. Right. And she's singing that song by Dorothy on The Wizard of Oz, talking about Somewhere Over the Rainbow. I'm gonna do a show called Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Oh, she's singing that song by Dorothy on The Wizard of Oz, Somewhere Over the Rainbow. She's trying to find a simp now after she had all her fun.
Right. Right.
And so she want to charge your son a solid due and your other son the whole tax. But then when you try to charge when your boy said, okay, well, where's the lady tax at? Then she gets mad. So your boys make good choices. No hoes, no baby mama drama, focus, discipline, build his legacy, being financially free. You've done a great job teaching your boys from the conversation that we've had. You've been doing an excellent job. But the whole tax said, after she had all her fun, been liberated to do what she want to do, why aren't you spoiling me anymore? I deserve designer everything. Your time is my time. When they say that, that they're at the table. Commit or somebody else will. Never enough, always demand. What do you think about that, man?
Oh, I think it's absolute ridiculous foolishness. And again, fundamentally, we've gotten to the point in this culture where we have these expectations of manhood and masculinity in terms of the social contract that's gone. These are what you're supposed to do. But the idea is that we don't challenge women to be worthy. Are they worthy of any of the things that they ask? And that question alone is offensive.
It is offensive
to them because they're like, well, how dare you misogynist, or you whatever, you bald-headed, whatever.
You bald-headed, old, shriveled up penis.
Right. And then they go. Then when next thing you know, they launch because they can't answer this question on a logical perspective as to why is marriage the last stop on the sexual liberation rail lines. So what they will do is hit me with the Jesus sword. They'll attack me with about 10 scriptures. So they'll try and challenge my morality and my value system, and they'll use religion. Because what happens now with the church and with Christianity is all sins are forgiven that repent of the sin and, come forth and accept God and accept Jesus and the teachings of the Bible. So in their mind, what God has cleansed and God has accepted, who are you to not give me what I want? Which is unlimited access to your resources. I want to walk down the aisles in that white dress, even though you're guy number 45. And you're supposed to provide for me, you're supposed to protect me, and you're supposed to pay 100% of the bills. And even though you're guy number 45 and I've had 2 kids by another man and all that stuff, and that really don't matter no more because I prayed about this and I've been forgiven.
Well. Listen. What they fail to understand is this: the scriptures, but the scripture also said, "Be careful that God is not mocked, and what a man soweth, that's what he shall also reap." So can God forgive a woman? Yes. Will that woman go to heaven? Yes. But the wrath of man is not the same as the wrath of God. And just because God forgive a woman, you still gonna reap what you sow. You can be born again. When Paul killed other Christians and took their lives, Paul still had to reap the reputation of being a murderer. So just because God forgave you, it still don't mean you're not going to deal with the stigma of being a 304. And that's what they don't understand. But that's called scapegoating Jesus. They use Jesus as a scapegoat because their ego don't like the feeling of rejection. Women don't like being rejected, man. Men get rejected every day. But no confident man in his right mind, if he made good choices, when a woman that had a bunch of fun, in her latter years, think she can settle down with a quality man. Because listen, back in the day, the standard was Wife ready, no kids, and virgin. That was the standard. That's what my daddy got. I'm sure that's what your dad got.
Well, you just for your statement alone, you'll be hit with about 30 scriptures right there and be called a heathen, a bald-headed, gray-bearded heathen too, from a heathen therapist. That's what you are.
Right.
How dare you speak blasphemy against what God has ordained? That's what they'll call you. They call you a heathen, brother. How dare you not give these women what they want? And the simp pastor, get out there too and tell them what a terrible man you are. Right. Because you're not speaking to forgiveness. And again, who told you, Mr. Kosher, that these beautiful queens are not deserving of a hard-working, squared-away, honorable man making six figures or whatever else? They're going to give you a piece of their mind. I'm be surprised they put 30 comments down below the screen and tell them what a terrible human being you are for not uplifting men living righteously and marrying these retired 304s.
But back in the past, Dr. Rand Taraban talked about it. Dr. Rand Taraban talked about women wanting to be ladies, treated as ladies, but while still being 304. I don't really like people using that word lady, because a lady is a woman of high moral character. A lady is somebody that if she haven't always made a good choice, she's striving. Right. So we call women ladies that are not ladies. They're not ladies. And the majority of them, they're not fit for marriage. And it's okay. I mean, a lot of men are not fit for marriage because they don't know how to lead. And they let women get away with murder. Yeah. They don't get away with murder, man.
I guess the idea alone of a woman have to be fit and qualified for marriage is offensive in the current environment that we live in.
Right. I agree.
You'll be considered a misogynist for suggesting that women are to be worthy or earn or be fit for marriage. And that's how low we've gotten.
Yep. And guess what? I don't see it getting any better in our lifetime, man. I don't. Do you? I don't see it getting no better in our lifetime.
I think with the way the world is, the way the society is going now economically, right now we've reduced to two strategies, which is relationships on their terms and simp fishing, and also using religion, weaponizing religion. So I think we're in a point of desperation now. Right. And I think you give it another, because we're dealing with automation, we're dealing with AI, even though some things they are not working out, where jobs themselves are not going to be easy to come by. And these corporations and agencies, they don't have to abide by DEI anymore.
Yep.
So they can hire who they want. So inflation is here. Right now, we're seeing economic duress and political fear because the political system is not working in their favors. And Gen Z young men are not participating in terms of just simping out on these women. So we have a lot of structural situation, but the arrogance is going to be here. We still got a bunch of simps. And I think you give it about a decade or so, and I think you'll see a completely different, how would I say, a more humble, especially if these programs don't return. Because it's the government that gives government fueled the arrogance. But right now the government is not doing that. So they're nervous now. So they're going through withdrawal. And then you see a lot of them showing up in places like Vietnam and Thailand and all this place looking for a new beginning. But eventually they're going to have to come back to men. And that's why I say the most endangered species right now is that guy they wouldn't date for they were 21. Simp fish.
Yep, the simp fish. Right, yeah. And you don't want to be that guy. You don't want to be the last man standing, man. No, that's a horrible situation, man. If you made good choices your whole life, man, and you're the last man standing. So before I let you go, I'm about to end this, man. I'm about to go walking, man. I'm gonna call you once I get off, man. But why cheap masculinity never works. What role do you feel like that these men's spaces have had on helping men evolve, man? I think it's helping. I think it's helping, man. I everywhere I look, they saying that men are that I listen to Paul even the other night on Jeff St. James show, and then I've heard others say in the past when I had Dr. Helen Smith, she said that they're not even on strike no more. they just go. They're not even striking no more. They just go. Right? Go ahead.
No, I think the men's spaces have been excellent in terms of really just showing men the truth about um, what we're dealing with in the current culture in terms of the options men have for relationship and what men are really just sharing their experiences. And also, too, there's never been that kind of pushback against the social programming that men were just riding as droids. So a lot of men you talk about is suffering silence, but they don't have shared experience. We don't have men that are like us, older men or men with experience that are sharing, this thoughts, or they've done so much to attack masculinity and manhood that a lot of the young men or men in general have been confused. They felt their back was against the wall. They had to live and deal with certain situations. The point is that at the end of the day, what these women are offering to men is so insufferable and undesirable as relationships or marriage or whatever else that we are confirming what men are experiencing in the culture. They're experiencing the disrespect. They're experiencing the arrogance. They're experiencing the dehumanization. They're in the church and they're listening to the pastor on Wednesday and Sunday talking about men's duties, men's responsibilities, what men are supposed to be for women. But he never preaches about what women's supposed to be, what's women's worthiness for marriage, what women's supposed to be.
Right.
And that's why a lot of men left the church, because the pastor sold his soul for money.
Mm-hmm.
And constantly, from the attitudes to mentalities of the women in the dating pool, the arrogance, the entitlements, the disrespect, the radical feminist ideologies, the men themselves is basically asking themselves the fundamental question: what am I getting out of this deal?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to get cooperation. I'm not going to get respect. And I'm not going to get a woman that hasn't been ran through. So at the end of the rainbow, what is it? There's no incentive. And the young men respond to incentive. And then the idea of marriage itself and the family, not just from the economic perspective and the cost of living and inflation, but marriage itself today, and they look at the experience of marriage men, the laws themselves, but not only that, marriage has become a humiliation ritual for most men, where married men, because they're getting the last pick of, becoming, for women that would not date them if they were 21, they get in a relationship with these men, and it becomes a humiliation ritual where these women are getting on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, making their husbands look like the absolute weakest, emasculating them in public, disrespecting them, where they have made a mockery out of the institution of marriage. And these young men are saying, I don't want to be that guy over there. I don't want to be Homer Simpson. I don't want to be, what's the comedian name? Sing. The guy who, Larry Wheels. I don't want to be a laughing stock of marriage. Has become a humiliation ritual. Mm-hmm. So the young men have nothing to look forward to. A life of having their balls clipped, put in a jar, hitting the cabinet behind the peas and rice, asking their wife, can they go on the weekend and hang with the fellas? These men walking around, the simp relationship, the Boyce Watkins, the Steve Harveys of the world, these emasculated men walking around with clip balls. It's an infestation. They see their uncles, their simp uncles, getting led around, bossed around, mistreated by women, disrespected, working their whole life, going in the grave early, without nothing, no respect, no dignity. And they're like, we're not signing up for that bullshit. Yeah, I don't care what Scott Galloway or Dave Ramsey say. These two cops,
but Dave Ramsey is a simp, man. He and see, you got to understand, Dave Ramsey is also a boomer simp.
Oh my God,
he's a boomer simp. He still thinks that women now are like the women. And somebody said his daughter was a feminist. But sure, I sent you some. I sent you something. But sure, when you get it, email me back. I want you to look at something. Just give me your perspective. I thought it was a fairly balanced analysis. And good to see you, sis. But yeah, check that email out for sure that I sent you, and just tell me what you think. But yeah, man, I agree with you, man. Cheap masculinity never works, and and they don't like the fact that men are beginning to wake up. And what I've learned is that they don't respect the men that simp for them.
Oh, look at Therese. Look at Will Smith. Look at all these men that are getting cooked out here. I mean, it's a humiliation. It's really the institution of marriage is taking a whole. If you talk about an image thing out here, these women are really making married men look bad.
Mhm.
Look at Will Smith. He was a lot. That's a That's a 1%. If Will Smith was in China or Will Smith was in anywhere in Asia or anywhere else, they'd be worshiping him. Instead, he's dealing with an old 304, just it's tarnishing his image as a man. Look at Therese crying all over the place. I mean, the list goes on of these guys getting cooked out here.
Mhm.
They're not really making a representation for marriages. And then you got Tia Mowry graduating from marriage. You got all kinds of craziness going on with this society. You're making a mockery of married men. We did the psychological today study where 89% of the OnlyFans subscribers is married men. And why is 89% of the men on OnlyFans married men? What kind of thirst exists in these homes? What kind of deprivation is going on over there, man? You got some thirsty married dudes, and it's like, this is not selling for the institution of marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Not only with divorces and child support and child custody and guys getting torched in family court, but the image itself of marriage has become the image of cuckery. You can't sell that to the young men. That's a serious branding issue. That's a serious reality issue. So, of course, the numbers are going to take it. These young men are like, hell no, don't sign me up for that.
Yeah.
It's a tough sell. It's a tough sell, man. It's a tough sell.
It is a tough sell, and then the reality is that the reality is that a lot of men are not falling for it, man. They still think that having degrees and money makes them valuable, and it doesn't. It doesn't make them valuable because most men don't care about that, man. And that's the way it is. We need to do another show on the back end at some point.
Oh yeah, definitely, my brother.
Before I let you go, man, what you get out of this conversation, man?
I mean, I think what it is really is, when I think about it with this conversation, we talk about masculinity for cheap, as you've talked about it, that they assume in this society that our masculinity is just that it's not worth anything, that it's free, that you don't have to be anything to deserve it, and you don't have to be worthy of receiving these protection or provision. It's almost like they're entitled to certain things with men, and men are starting to wake up. So I think that's the main focus on this conversation, that men are waking up. The content that you're putting out, the help that you're doing, the help that we're doing towards men is working.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yep. What do you think about your Spurs, man?
Oh man, you kidding me? I'll leave that alone, man, because we got some Oklahoma City fans in here, and I got a lot of Oklahoma City fans that are on my Facebook and everything else like that. I'll let the wounds heal for 24 hours, maybe a little longer, before I say anything, because it's tough. It's tough out here, man. But hey, it is what it is, man. The Spurs are back.
Yep.
I would say that not only the rebirth of Tim Duncan, but just beyond Tim Duncan. He was just more talented, more skilled than Tim.
Yeah. Oh, you think Wemby is?
Wemby is a beast. Wemby,
you think he more skilled than Tim? I don't think
Tim is a type of player. Tim is a more fundamental, old school big man.
Right.
With jump shot. Wemby is more of a freak. To be honest with you, he's a freak of nature.
So who you think got it all, man? You think they're gonna win? They're gonna win it all?
Man, I'm biased to the Spurs, but hey, I'm not even going to leave that alone, man. I ain't gonna leave that alone.
Wait, what do you think about? Okay, what do you think about the Hurricanes, man?
What?
He said what? He said the Carolina Hurricanes, man.
Man, come on, man. North Carolina faithful over here.
We won the Eastern Championship.
Yeah.
In hockey, you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about hockey, man.
Yeah, I know you're talking about hockey, but still, I don't know no hockey, man. I don't know hockey, man.
All right, shout out to Wicked Witch of the West. He said,
Pre-om. Pre-om, but you think about it, man. I think like the disrespect for manhood and masculinity today is literally, they really expect men to be dumpster divers, and we talk about that all the time. It's really a disrespectful environment, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And they try to drive the value of something up that men don't see as valuable anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and these dudes would rather stay single and play their video games than to sign up for some of these deals that need to be offered out here, man. This is terrible deals.
Yep, it is terrible. Shout out to Kwasi. Yeah, man, we'll make it work, man. I'll get you on the back end, man. Yeah. And guys, thank you for everybody. Bashir said, Coach, my husband and I will both review what you sent me. Yeah, check it out, Bashir. I think you and your husband will like it. It's the most balanced one that I've seen. Just tell me what you think. Tell me what you and your husband. I think you and your husband will like it. It was a good video by Dr. Fred C. Price Jr. So tell me how you guys like it. I'll reach out to y'all at some point. And but anyway, what you got in this conversation, man? Before I let you go.
Well, I think, like I said, what you talked about masculinity, and this idea of static blackness, and that we're not all this monolith. There's so many different perspectives, too many different value systems, and individual tribes or people with different value systems, people with different economic situations. We don't think the same,
right? And
our standards are different. Mm-hmm. You know, some of us have higher standards. We don't just accept anything that's given to us. And we talk about the idea of creating a new tribe. We are a part of a new tribe. Mm-hmm. And if you watch any of these videos and you look at certain communities and the way the structure is and what goes on in these communities, and I think you're absolutely correct. We're not a monolith. The static blackness thing, we don't just because you identify as a race or color, and that all men that are in the West are experiencing a lot of the same issues that they're having in this gynocracy. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it's a gynocentric environment.
Yeah,
they're trying to get the Scott Galloways, the Dave Ramseys, and all these other people are trying to grab masculinity by the horn and direct it down to the simp pastures. I'll leave it at that.
Right. Shout out to my man, International Quantum. All right. Well, listen, man, we're going to end it here, guys. Thank you for tuning in.
I appreciate
the conversation once again was Therapist Iraq, why CHEAP Masculinity Never Works. We're going to end it here. Peace and love. I'll hit you up on the back end, man. We'll talk, brother. Be good. All right. Yes, sir.
Peace.
All right, guys. We're about to end it here. Shout out to my brother, Peace with Life. And I'm about to go get my walk on, man. And I'll see you guys soon. And thank you to the #1 sponsors, and Ray Johnson and International Quiet Storm. And I'll be seeing you guys soon. Take care.
Fire for your mind. The Kosher Clinician.
Nigga ass, loser ass nigga.
Your video with comments about
He's a
certain
loser.
other female.
Just to let you niggas know, we don't need y'all. We want y'all, but we don't need you.
20 years later.
Our black men, we want all y'all back. Because we love you, we see you, kings, and most importantly, we need you. And most importantly, we need you.
And most importantly, we need you.